Hello and welcome to another video. I am in Munich Airport, down in the south of Germany. I've just come in from Amsterdam with Lufthansa and today I'm taking Air Dolomiti, an airline I've never flown before, and in fact that's the reason I'm taking them today. I'm going to check them out in business class. Enjoy the video. Munich Airport is by far my favourite airport in Germany, especially to transit through. I love that it's so modern, efficient and logically laid out. Inside the midfield terminal at Munich there is an exhibition on the motors and air screws, or propellers, of vintage aircraft, including this enormous one from one of the Zeppelin airships. I personally love it when airports go to the extra lengths to put in exhibitions or museums on their premises. I particularly like the archaeological exhibition at Athens Airport. Let me know if you've got any favourites in any airports that you've seen around the world. My flight with Air Dolomiti departed from the main terminal building at the G&H gates, and this gave me an opportunity to test out a new concept, Lufthansa's Delights to Go. This is available to anybody with a business class ticket on Lufthansa or their partner airlines. It's available to all Star Alliance Gold customers and also by invitation. Essentially, it's not really a lounge, but rather a makeshift self-service cafe in the gate area. It's an efficient, low-maintenance way of the airline catering for you on those short connections. There's a giant vending machine which basically deposits freshly packed lunches into your hand. You make your choice on the screen, the machine thinks about it for a few seconds, and then you're allowed to collect your packed lunch from the bottom. It works a little bit like the replicators in Star Trek, but with a lot less magic. If you've used this Lufthansa concept before, let me know what you thought of it in the comments. I'd be interested to hear from you. Okay, so that was the Delights to Go concept by Lufthansa. Picked up my little bag of packed lunch here. I thought it was a great concept. A lot of the transfers here at Munich are quite short, and so even if you do qualify, sometimes you physically can't get to the lounge before your next flight leaves. So I think that is a wonderful concept. I hope it doesn't replace regular lounges. That's where I'm off to now. I have Star Alliance Gold status with Air New Zealand, and so I couldn't resist the temptation to actually eat in the Lufthansa Senator Lounge. I saved my packed lunch for later, and you'll be happy to know it was perfectly fine. In common with the tone set by the rest of the airline, I don't think Lufthansa's lounges are particularly stellar. I don't think they're the best appointed in the world, and I certainly don't think they're the most stylish. However, they are exceptionally consistent and very high quality too. In the Senator lounges like this one, I'm always able to find something that I like to eat, something to drink, and a quiet spot to catch up on work, which is actually how I spent most of the time in this lounge. The Senator lounge also comes with shower suites. They're very clean and an absolute lifesaver if you're flying long haul, especially if your previous flight was overnight and you really don't feel ready to face the day ahead. Everything is provided, from toiletries to a hairdryer to fresh towels every time you enter the shower suites. There's no need to bring any of these things with you to use the shower. When you've used as many airports as I have, you know that as soon as you're asked to go downstairs to use a gate, it will be a bus gate, and that was certainly the case here. Air Dolomiti generally park their aircraft on remote stands here at Munich. As it turns out, our particular aircraft was parked on the other side of the airfield. The drive took about 10 minutes and boarding, of course, was by stairs. Air Dolomiti use a standard European setup on their Embraer 190 aircraft. It's a 2+2 configuration with European business. This means that the actual seat is the same as economy, however the one next to you will be blocked off for additional comfort and space. Interestingly, the airline markets their business class as Settimo Cielo, meaning seventh heaven, according to Google Translate anyway. This is a really short flight, and the flight crew have made sure that I already have a bottle of water at my seat and a refreshing wipe.
Nelle apposite cappelliere siamo a disposizione per ulteriori informazioni. Vi auguriamo un piacevole volo. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to
was impressed at how steeply the Embraer series aircraft seemed to climb. There seems to be no time at all between us taking off and reaching our cruising altitude of around 20,000 feet. And here's today's route. Munich and Venice are just 198 miles apart, and therefore the flying time is pretty short today at just half an hour. This may seem a trivial route, but the presence of the Alps between the two cities means that it's a long drive of nearly 6 hours. By train, you're looking at nearly 7. In fact, Air Dolomiti have made quite a business of traversing the Alps. There are at least half a dozen routes on this map that look short but are in fact avoiding a significant journey by road or rail. It's also important to realise that a lot of these short routes exist not because of the point-to-point traffic, but because people, including me, are connecting from further afield. Given that Air Dolomiti operate almost exclusively short flights, I was very surprised to find they had onboard Wi-Fi, and it worked pretty well. The only thing that was annoying was that to get it to work on your phone or tablet, you had to turn the screen vertically. The Wi-Fi landing page even includes a very basic route map, which you can see just here. I always love looking at the route map and finding out exactly where I am in relation to my surroundings. It's one of the best things on any in-flight entertainment system. Despite the very short flight time, there is time for some onboard service, and Air Dolomiti have gone for an interesting choice of onboard snack. I guess they figure that you'll probably eat a proper meal on the ground, so they give you 2 sweet options, which is not something I've ever seen before on any airline. By the way, the coffee that was served with this was absolutely exquisite and might well be the best coffee I've ever had on any airline in any class ever. Despite its homely feel, Air Dolomiti is actually a wholly owned subsidiary of Lufthansa, and that's why there are miles and more leaflets available. Something I didn't comment on earlier was how good the legroom is in row 1. It's pretty substantial here in 1D, however if you do look across the row to the left, you can actually see that the bulkhead is ever so slightly further forward, meaning you have a slightly reduced legroom. It's still very good though. Space, however, is not a concern on this flight. As it turns out, I'm the only passenger in business class, and I have 4 rows all to myself. The lavatory on board was very clean, and it's the standard one that's fitted in most Embraer 190 aircraft. By the way, this is something you'll find an awful lot on short-haul aircraft. This brown stain in the sink is actually caused by flight attendants pouring away excess tea and coffee down the drain. After a very short and uneventful flight, the aircraft is descending towards Venice, and I'll give you a pro tip here. If you sit on the right-hand side, you'll generally see Venice out of the right-hand side of the aircraft. This is because most of the time, the approaches to the airport are made from the south. So, to sum up, I'm not sure it's useful me telling you how much I paid for this flight because this particular ticket is part of a much longer and wider itinerary with many stops. However, you can pick up this flight for around £129 one way. That's €150. I've done a bit of searching and found that the average price differential is around about €50 over economy class for any given journey. Given the very short length of the flight, I'm not sure that I would pay for it if it was just a simple one-way itinerary. However, I did deliberately include Air Dolomiti in the complex itinerary I mentioned earlier, and I was more than happy with what I got from them. On a connecting itinerary with Air Dolomiti operating one of the flights, I'm sure you'll have a great time. I'm going to wrap things up here, and I'll see you in a few days for another video. Thanks for watching.